Yep. Corner's back
Okay,
on.
let me share the screen again. So now, if you see why they actually use separate account for a separate subscription. Now, if you see here, there is something called role-based access control and something called zero trust.
Okay.
I will describe that later. But
Okay.
to implement these two things, they use them.
To implement what? Sorry.
To implement these two things, RBAC and zero trust policy.
What do they use to implement that?
So they create separate account with a separate subscription.
Okay, then they can implement zero trust and
Yeah,
RBAC.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So
We'll
the
explain
reason
that later
here
anyway.
is, yeah, this the reason here is, let's say you are an administrator. I am an administrator and I am managing a single account. Okay,
Okay.
but a human have also a limit, some limit, correct? As a human, I should also have some limits. I can
Okay.
only work for 8 hours, correct?
Yeah.
I cannot, divide my time for all four departments, all their needs, all their,
Yeah.
troubleshootings, all their issues, all
Yeah.
their new requests. Correct?
Yep.
Now imagine I'm a single person. I'm handling all these four subscriptions.
Yep.
I'm handling all them together. I'm handling their budgeting. I'm handling their invoicing. Apart from that, technical work as well,
Mm,
administration work as well. The same way, I there could be any point I can do anything wrong.
of course.
I can, delete anything, even not intentionally, but by mistake. If
Yeah.
there are four the subscription, if someone, let's say, production asks me to increase their number of VMs, if I am not in a good mind or not in a good mood, I could, certainly increase the virtual machines of sales department.
Yeah.
This way, you are trusting your admin guy with some privileges to them. Okay.
Okay.
But as you said that there is a no trust policy, not even with your administrator or with your any person, be it your project manager, be it your stakeholder.
Yeah.
That is called zero trust policy. Don't trust anyone, not to yourself as well. So there are
Okay.
multiple controls in Azure, like role based success control. Then you can say zero trust policy. Then you have least privileges policy. You might have heard of least privileges policy. The
Yeah.
same policy you might have also used in CCNA, that you can only assign right roles to router for certain administrator, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You have a master password to enable that, correct?
Yep.
By default, if you want to write on a router, it will not allow you, it will only allow you to read your configuration, correct? If
Yeah.
you
Yep.
want to write your configuration, you have to put a separate password for it, correct?
Yep.
The same way, it has least privilege principle, zero trust policies, and all those or back rule
Yep.
needs to be applied on Azure to work it smoothly. Because as soon as you come into Azure, it will be act like an whole office to you, correct?
Yeah.
Although it is a virtual, but it is an office. You are managing an office.
Yep.
The same thing which is happening in office is now being transferred on a cloud in a virtual environment.
Yep.
These days we can't see it visually, but we can imagine it on a internal side. But upcoming days when Meta, AR, VR will be so much advanced, we will see these configuration in a virtual mode as well.
Yeah.
So that's how technology is being involved.
Yeah.
Okay, now moving ahead, are you clear with this, the hierarchy of Azure resources and all?
Sorry, guys. I must ask to Ayub. Do you want to have a break, even if it's 5 minutes? Is entirely up to you. I just want to put it out there. If you want to get a bit of break, then you can.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Let's push
Fine.
through.
All right. Great.
Yeah. Regarding the hierarchy. Yeah. So of course, it starts off from the. If you start from the bottom, it would be
Yeah,
the resources. So basically, as soon as you, of course, add a service, so that would be, whatever service it's added becomes a resource, and then you can group. multiple resources into a resource group,
Yeah,
and then from there you can have multiple resource. One subscription can have multiple resource groups. If that makes sense.
yeah, correct.
And then of course you can group like subscriptions into maybe a management group where you can set some policies. And
Yeah,
then of course you can have an Azure account can have multiple subscriptions, but as you said, you know what I mean. Certain companies they prefer, let's just say they have like multiple administrators, they prefer one department for one Azure account, if it makes sense. So it's kind of easier to manage, and you can assign maybe an administrator to one department, one Azure account.
yeah.
Um,
Now,
that's fine. I was gonna add.
mm,
What was I gonna say? So no, that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing. There's nothing. Yeah, carry on.
okay. Now, one thing you just need to keep in mind that these resource group, okay,
Yeah.
these have a length, restrictions. The
Okay.
name length, it can only go up to 90 characters.
These
Yeah,
characters, like
90 characters.
when you're
Like
naming it,
when you
or when
name
you're adding.
when you naming
Okay,
it.
that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
So you just have to note it down. The reason certain questions could come around this. They would give you a very long name and they would say whether this will validate or not. You have
Oh,
to
okay.
check whether it will validate, and they could also give you that you have, infinity numbers and infinity number.
Okay.
You have to create a resource group out of it. So this way, it could trick you with this question. And
Yeah, okay.
also, all the resource groups, subscription management groups, uh, and these resources, these can also be used with tags. Tags are like hashtags. For example, you post a picture, okay,
Yeah.
you put hashtag on those pictures like location, happy mood,
Yeah.
driving, and so that when you click on that hashtag all the driving photos come together, correct?
Yeah.
Same way you can also put a kind of tags with your resources, and that's that has a kind of restrictions for up to 512, that those tags.
Okay. So if
One
you
thing,
have like 512, if you add maybe a hashtag happy or
let me
something.
show you something. If you
Okay, that's
see
fine.
here, this is your resource group, okay, these are tags, okay. If you click on edit, in name you can type up to 512
Oh,
characters,
characters. Okay.
okay, and then assign a value to it. For
A
example, if
value.
you see,
What would
if
the
you
value be?
department. So why we use tags? For example, if you want to, see that who created it, so you assign that policy. The person who is creating it should add their tag that it is created by me. Okay?
Ah, you talk about you all can you add tags? You all can add tags to resource groups.
Resource groups, resources as well.
Okay.
Then it is created
On
for
or for. Okay.
oh,
Yeah,
created for testing. Okay?
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So this way you can have a tag assigned to them. Now, if you see here, the tag has been assigned. For example, if you want to see what things has been created by Sajid, it will show here because as of now there are no resources here. For example, let me just add a resource tag. These are tags. Let me edit it. Hmm, created by.
It's already there. Yeah. Just click on it.
Click
Sajid.
it.
Okay.
Click add it. Save it. Now,
And
if
then
I
you click
go
on the
and click on this interactive
resource.
hashtags, it will show me I have created these things.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So this way you can basically uh,
Mm.
check your things easily. Created for testing, you only created this group for testing.
Okay. That's
So
fine.
you can also create it, see, uh,
You can do what you
ur-
want basically. Makes it easy to
urgency.
understand.
Yeah, urgency can be deleted.
You can't add space.
Yeah, you can, space as well can be deleted.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Yeah.
If you see, you save it, And for example, at the end of the day, you want to see which resource can be deleted. You can, filter it out.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. So I forgot. I think you already mentioned this point. So how would you prevent maybe accidentally deleting an important resource? I think you already
Mm,
mentioned, but I forgot.
those are different things. Those are called locks.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
This
Okay,
is
I got no
just this is for your knowledge, for
knowledge. Easy understanding.
exams point of view,
Okay, that's fine. That's
that
fine.
these are some restrictions, or you can say the length of basically those things.
Okay, that's fine. I was gonna ask. Um, so I think you showed me one time you launched a virtual machine,
Mhm.
but you know that virtual machine it had other because it has dependencies. Other stuff was launched as well, as for instance,
Yeah,
virtual IP and all that stuff. So those other dependencies would that what would that be called? Would that be also a resource or
those are also resources. Yeah, those are also
okay?
separate resources.
So would that be a resource of a resource if that makes sense? So if you have
Yeah,
if you launch a VM and resources for that VM would also be like a VM IP, VM VNet or whatever.
that is a separate resource itself.
And
Okay,
you
that's
see
fine.
the separate, quick question, the separate resources that is created as part of the VM package. Does that also, do you get charged separately for them as well?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
assume no.
yeah. You will be charged for that. As an example, let's say you have created. Let's go ahead and create a virtual machine here. Okay, you are creating a virtual machine, so you will be charged two, three things for it. You will be charged for it compute power, the size, like 2 CPU, 8 gigabyte of RAM, and this will be charged monthly basis. Apart from that, you will be also charged for disk. Okay,
Yeah.
if you go with the premium SSD, you will be charged accordingly. You go with the standard HDD, you will be charged less. Then you will also be charged for the networking.
Mm,
Each VNet will be charged you $2, something like that, and then ingress and outgress traffic as well. Now, if you see, go to the pricing calculator. If you are, a solution architect, okay, and you get an option to tell a new organization that what will be my infrastructure actual cost, okay, you ask them, please tell me your requirement. They will tell you that we required a single virtual machine. Now you will ask them certain questions. For example, do you want this in central US, which operating system you want, which tire you want, then what type of instance you want is a normal instance, or you want a very big instance like 140 GB RAM and also kind of stuff. Then you tell them like how much virtual machine will basically run for number of hours. Let's say it has taken 24 hours into 30 days for a 730, but if you want, you can reduce it for 8 hours for 30 days for 240 hours. So it will, you know only this virtual machine will cost you $50, correct? But if you see here, it has a managed disk. If you want a disk for, let's say, 128 GB single disk, it will cost you $6 more. Okay, now if you see here, if you have only 100 storage transaction, it will cost you $0.5. But if you have more transaction like 10,000, it will cost you $5 extra. Then came the bandwidth, interregion or internet. So if you are transferring, let's say you have a requirement to transfer 2 TB of data, so let's say 2000 GB of data, so it will cost you under $100. So while designing a solution, you have to include all the cost here. If you see the actual
I mean,
cost.
a typical solution, let's just say a virtual machine that has like a standard capability of, someone who would be an administrator role. Would you be able to demonstrate for us how much it would come up to per month if the person is working 40 hours a week?
40 hours a week. Now, if you see here, let's say if you are a single administrator, okay. Now, let imagine you go with a very small amount. Mm, go with this one. Okay, then you basically use a single 32 GB space. Then there are only single transaction, 10,000 transaction. You don't transfer any data as well.
What? Sorry, what do you mean by storage transactions?
Storage transaction is like how many files are being transferred to storage, how many files are fetched from that storage.
Ah,
Like
okay, from the VM. Okay,
if one file is stored from that VM to that storage, it will be
mm,
like one transaction.
okay,
So they have set 10,000 transaction will be called as one transaction unit, and
mm,
each unit will be cost you this much amount. So as an administrator, I have taken minimum transaction unit, which is 10,000 transaction per a month, which is one
okay,
transaction unit, and it will only cost us 0.0005.
okay.
So this way, if you take minimal things, it will cost you only $48.
Month. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now, if you want to,
Another question. Another quick question. Apologize for my endless questions. It will. The reason why I'm asking it was will shed a lot of light on what we're going through. In terms of when you're shopping around for computing capabilities to be launched in the VMware
Mhm.
on, is that also part of the person who is customizing the VMware, who is, let's just say, the architect who's designing this, is that his recommendation that the company has to go by? Let's just say they have to shop for certain
Yeah,
computer to be able to run the
yeah,
services.
yeah. See, there are many series here. If you see here, let me show you Azure VM series. Azure has, machine series optimized for workloads. For example, for memory instances, for CPU level instances, for economically level, for general purpose compute services. So they have separate, for example, if you have a requirement to run data analytics on something on a VM, data analytics mean big data, SAP, HANA, the administrator will ask you, the solution architect will guide you to go with E series. Okay, if you see, it has heavy in memory applications. So this way you can choose basically your high performance computing virtual machine, which will start from $581. So this way you can suggest as per the requirement to them. You have see very high end M series virtual machine which can have 4 TB of RAM on a single virtual machine. So it will cost you from 1121.
Damn.
You also
Yeah, it
have
makes
N
a lot of
series,
sense.
which is GPU enabled. GPU enabled means you will have NVIDIA card if you want to render, your gaming. If you have to render videos, if you want to render, specific three-dimensional projects, any kind of things which require GPU capabilities, you have to choose these N series machines. So accordingly, you have to select those particular things which is required. Like you have this N series, you see it start with 28 gigabyte of RAMs, go up to 440. So this way you see the cost is around $2,000 a month, and it is only 840 hours a week. And if I go with 24 into 7, it will cost you $6,000.
Six
Okay,
times.
another question.
Sorry.
So,
Just to cut off.
obvious-
So 730 hours, would that be for the month?
For the whole month. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So, in terms of obviously the cloud, I mean, the advantage that the cloud does offer is the computational power does not happen in your computer. It happens far away on a server,
Yeah.
and
Over
all
the
you're
internet.
doing, yeah, over the internet. I mean, of course. So, in terms of minimum requirement equipments that a person needs, what is it? Let's just say for an administrator, what kind of recommendations would someone give to a company? What kind of computers would they have for an administrator?
See,
Although
for
bearing in mind that
they
we
could
know that the computation
simply
can happen
choose
far away.
general purpose compute, D series, which has Intel Xeon processors. Simple general purpose. start
Mm.
with $41.
Like
Is
for a
that
single VM would be $41, including everything in general.
No, it start with means only VM will start with here. Then its dependence component will also charged. For example, we have seen the pricing came around $49.
Yeah, but like starting from would be the D series, but the lowest of for everything. If that makes sense.
No, lowest are also have this economical brushable, which is
Yeah, yeah.
very just for run any kind of command, or A series, which is also very for dev and test. But for administration part, normal general purpose, you go with D series.
Okay, that's
okay?
fine.
In terms of dependent components you mentioned, can you shed a bit more light on that?
So I've told you the dependent components are, if you see here, the virtual machine have disk, it has networking components. All those components are dependent
Okay,
component.
okay. I thought it's a physical hardware components. That's what I thought. Okay, great.
No, no, these are these IPs, NIC cards, then subnet, VNet, then you have a disk storage, your and you can increase the dependency as well. For example, if you've taken a normal virtual machine, you want to enhance its capability so that that particular virtual machine automatically get transmit to some other virtual machine all the data. You can set that you will be paying more to that thing because your data is continuously getting transferred from one location to another location. You can also set backup policies where your hard drive will get automatically backed up after every 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. And the storage which it will be occupying to store those backup, you will be again charged for those backup storage as well.
Quick question: should an administrator or even a developer or architect should you even worry about backup issues because you're
Yeah,
not really backing it up locally?
no, you should see cloud
Admins.
is how you configure it. It will work how you configure it. If you see here, while creating a virtual machine, I can select no infrastructure redundancy, and I can select availability as well, to be make it available in zone 1, zone 2, or zone 3 as per my requirement. If you choose
Okay.
no availability, so you will have a single source of failure, no infrastructure redundancy required.
Yeah,
So cloud is how you actually make out of it.
yeah.
It will give you all option, it will give you everything. You should have proper understanding of how to use it.
Yes, yes,
That's
but what the point I was trying to get to? I mean, the whole concept of cloud. It is. I mean, your data is supposed to be, of course, so secure that you're not supposed to be even thinking about backing it up because it's not saved in your local server. It's saved in a cloud somewhere far away.
see, even that data is stored there, but as per Microsoft, they will not guarantee it 100%. They will only guarantee it for 99.9995 something.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
Got
will,
it.
it's just that so basically on premise servers or whatever, um those even those can go down if that makes sense. So you still
yeah,
have to back that up. And the same is the exact same thing for Azure. They also have their own servers that we use over the cloud, and they also may go down as well. It just happens. It's just that you have to create maybe a redundancy, as you can see, where you can set up maybe availability zones where you can, you know what I mean, set up different maybe VMs or whatever, different locations. So if one goes down, you can basically automatically switch to the backup if that makes sense.
yeah. Now, take another example. Let's say you are an administrator. Okay, although everything is very good at Azure end, it hardly goes down as per my experience. I have, if I have used 100 services, I have only seen 2 or 3 services which was down at a time.
Yeah,
Okay. Now let imagine you are administrator and you join your job newly, and you have given a virtual machine to you to work on it. Then in that virtual machine, you somehow formatted that hard drive. How will you recover that? Because in this way, there is no downtime, there is no service outage. It's something which has been done unintentionally or by mistake. How will you
by
recover
the
that?
administrator, did you say?
Yeah, as an administrator, how will you recover that? So this way,
Uh,
if you have a backup policy, you can recover it from there.
okay, that's fine.
Same way, let's say you have some software installation, you
Yeah,
have come up with some new software, let's say SQL server need to be upgraded.
yeah,
So you upgraded it, okay. After the upgradation, you figure it out, your application has stopped working because it is not compatible with that software backend database. What will you do?
yeah.
Will you roll it back one by one? No. You have to make sure your production environment
It's
remain
backed up.
stable in very less amount of time. You do it from your backup vault. As an
Okay.
example, other example on a layman example I can give you. While upgrading the configuration iOS on your router and switches, do you take configuration backup?
What is it? Sorry.
While upgrading routers and
Of course, of
switches
course,
iOS, do you take
of course.
configuration backup?
Yeah,
So you saved it somewhere else safely, correct? To
of course. Just in
in
case
case
it goes wrong.
some port goes down, something is not working,
Yeah,
you can check what was the original configuration, correct,
and then
and
you
restore
compare.
it
Yeah,
back. Yeah, the same way you have your backup, images, backup
yeah,
snapshot to be stored in backup vault,
yeah,
where you can use those vault in case of emergency.
yeah,
So those are the benefits of these things.
yeah. Okay, I understand.
Okay, so now moving ahead, Azure has a global infrastructure. When I say global infrastructure, it means Azure is available throughout the whole world. It has
Yeah.
set up its physical infrastructure and network connectivity to more than 200 physical data centers, which are basically interconnected throughout the planet. If I show you something, let me show you something. Hold on. Have you seen the
Nope.
Azure infrastructure map?
Nope.
See here, it will show
Mm,
you all its region, how its global infrastructure is basically connected to each other. Let it load.
mm. Oh.
So now if you see here, they have you know presence across whole globe.
Uh,
See, the lines which you are seeing here is their own privately owned fiber lines,
yeah.
which
Physical
connect,
fiber lines
which connect their data centers, their edge location,
together. Okay.
interconnected.
Okay.
They also have a satellite, see their own satellites.
Yeah.
If you see here, these are the main locations.
Data centers, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, it will help you to connect and empower your daily lives
Okay.
where your actual data is stored.
Mm,
Now all these data centers which are clubbed together become a region,
okay.
and then these region are having availability zone, they are interconnected, and they actually give you option of high availability.
Okay.
So this way, if you see, they are all interconnected. If you launch a server here, and you remember we have set here zone 1, zone 2. If you
Yeah.
select availability option, you have zone 1, zone 2, which means that if you selected a single zone at East US, it will
Yeah.
replicate your things in zone 1 or zone 2 as well, or zone 3.
Okay.
So this way these are automatically connected. So availability zone basically protect your application and data from data center failure.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, just to cut you off. So let's just say you create a VM. And if you don't implement, of course, availability or high availability, the VM will just be basically stored on one data center, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you start implementing maybe high availability or of course or availability redundancy, you can what would you how would it work? So you have the same VM will be in multiple data centers, will be
See,
replicated.
yeah, let's say if you have availability zone enabled. So what it
Okay.
will do is, if you see here, let's say your VM is in this data center. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
Initially,
the
yeah.
now it will not, basically replicate your compute power to others data center. It will only store your data and application data to other data centers. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's say this data center got failed. Now if
Yeah.
you see this continuously running syncing between them in an
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
availability zone, what does
Yeah.
it mean is whatever data you are making changes here, it will automatically get replicated on those two other locations. And at some
Okay.
point, if it get fail, your VM will automatically get transferred here, allocated with new RAM, new CPU, physical
And the
CPU here,
data, and you have the
and the
data anyway.
data already there. It will
Yeah.
pick that data up from where you left, and it will show you your application without
Okay.
even knowing.
So a quick, so as you said, for the if you go back on the VM that you were setting up on Azure, um, so East US has 3 zones, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And of course, each zone can have multiple data centers, or would it be three, of course, more than three, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Now, if you see here, let me show you. You have single data centers. Okay,
Okay.
that data center will be connected together, create a availability zone.
Yeah, of course.
It is called a region availability zone. And then
Yeah.
when it connect with an edge locations, edge zones, like they provide better latency specific application delivery. And when they are clubbed together, they create a geographical areas. This is
Okay.
Asia, this is Europe. They have
Yeah.
their separate connectivity. Now everything between these things, the data center, these geographical areas, these are connected with low latency network. You see
Okay.
here, everything is connected with them, their own cables.
Okay.
They have connected with satellite, everything is connected.
Yeah.
See, three satellite they have: lower bit, medium, and geo synchronization.
Would this be in the AZ-900?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have to see here, just a minute. Mm.
I remember when cloud used, sorry, just to make a quick comment. I remember when cloud was just a very small theory like 10 years ago, and I'm quite surprised how huge it's grown.
Yeah, it's very much. Sorry. Now if you see here,
Yeah.
see these are lines. These are called fiber cables directly connected with data centers.
Mm.
If you see here, in US alone, you see how many. This is North US, East US, Canada Central, South US. If you go to West US, see this is their location.
Can you quickly have a look at what locations exist in the Middle East?
Mhm. Here it is
Yeah.
in Middle East. It's in
Yeah,
UAE North,
and
Dubai,
Bahrain, I heard, is supposed to
Qatar,
have some.
Qatar Central, UAE North. It has a point of presence as well.
Quick question. You know the dark blue dots, are those zones, or are those zones, to clarify?
These are point of presence network POP. So
Okay.
it means where they are connected with these fiber cables.
Okay.
They have
Okay, that's
entered
fine.
in this country.
Okay, okay, okay. I know what you mean.
So see, in India, they have this Jamnagar, they have this Bombay, they have this Nagpur, they also have in Delhi.
Really,
So there are
yeah.
four. They have Central India, they have South India, they have South Central India. So you
I'll
get
just play
What,
this.
around
what,
with this
what
anyway.
is, you see the fiber lines you mentioned, which is totally new, different fiber lines from the usual fiber lines that exist.
Yeah, these are their own fiber lines. These are not, world fiber lines or a country fiber lines. These
Yeah,
are
these
their
are
privately owned fiber lines.
okay. That's fine.
So let me tell you why these are required. For example, you remember we discussed a feature of cloud global reach.
Yeah,
What does it mean? It means is, for example, if your website is hosted here, okay,
yeah.
and you are pretty much aware about hops, correct? A packet travel from one hop to another hop
Oh,
if
next
you
hop.
go with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
next hop, correct?
yeah,
Now imagine if this website need to be access it from here, okay.
yeah,
Now if in normal scenario, if they don't have these fiber lines, their own point of presence, what will they do? They first go to the their country head. From there they exit it, they travel it, they enter it their country head. From there
mm,
they reach to that data center, and from their data center VLAN to firewall to VM, correct?
yeah.
It means it have more than 10-15 hops, latency will be very high, correct?
The latency. Yeah,
Now imagine you don't have to go through all of them, because you have your own point of presence. You have your website created here, and you have point of presence in Bombay.
yeah,
Someone try to access it from Central India, it will reach Bombay point and left the packet from there directly and reach it here, the nearest POP,
yeah,
New York, and from there it reach to their own data centers. So
yeah,
this way they have only four hops. So
yeah, yeah,
imagine
yeah.
how much it will save in terms of packet travel,
Latency.
latency, bandwidth, and all those kind of
Bandwidth.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So this way they are saving the latency. Another advantages of these kind of lay down cables is security. As I
yeah,
told you, they spend more than $2 billion a year. They spend on all these kind of security. The reason, if you are transferring some data from public internet, your ISP, then country ISP endpoint, and from there there could
yeah.
be external malicious practices. There could be hackers, sniffer. They could use Wireshark to basically obtain the data you are transferring, correct?
Mm, mm.
But if you use their own personal
Private.
private channel,
Yeah,
that is only intended to be communicate between data centers or their internal customers.
yeah.
So it
Very
means your
unlikely.
data is very unlikely to be sniffed by some third party.
Yeah,
So this way you are also providing them TLS level of security, transport layer security.
yeah.
So that's the benefit of all those things.
Mm, makes sense.
Okay. Now it has around 200 plus data centers which are arranged into regions, and they are grouped together to create a largest interconnected networks on the planet. So same way AWS has their own network, same way Azure has.
Okay.
Now the basic entity of an Azure infrastructure is a data center. A data center is nothing, just a unique physical building where they house all the physical component of their cloud, their
Okay.
physical servers, their physical routers, their physical networking devices, their physical compute power, everything,
Yeah.
their power sources, their physical security, everything is hosted inside a data center.
Yeah.
Now what is a region? When we say regions such as US East, US West, So region is nothing, just a combination of two or three data centers
Yeah.
which are deployed within a latency defined parameters and connected through a dedicated regional low latency network. For example, if you see here, you have US East region and Central region. They are interconnected because they are located to each other connectly. So this way they are called a region, and when these regions are grouped together,
Yeah.
that is called a geography.
Okay.
US region East, US region West, Central region, it will cause US demography. This will called Asia demography. This will call Europe demography. So this way region and geography is being explained.
Okay. If you go back, sorry. Oh yeah, that's it. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You can explain that anyway. So what difference between a region and an Azure region would be basically, um, where you have is basically a set of data centers,
See,
and then if
you have one data centers, okay?
yeah,
When you have three data centers, two or three data centers, that
yeah.
is called a region, okay?
Ah, okay, yeah,
US region 1.
yeah.
Now US region 1, then you have a US region 2,
We have another set of data centers that are close
then
by.
yeah, then you have US region 3.
Okay, and then when you combine them together, is
You
it
combine them
geography?
together, it is called a US geography.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, now you're gonna get onto zones.
And now what is Azure availability zones? So each zone is made up of one or more data center equipped with independent power, cooling and networking. Now let's say you have one data center here, one data center here, and one data center here. It is in a single Azure region. Okay, let's say these in US East.
Mm,
Now these data centers, if you launch your VM here, okay, in this data center one, you launch your VM and you select availability zone one or two or three. This particular, if you select two, this two will be your availability zone. This two will be your availability zone where your
okay,
data will be sync between them. Each of this data center will have independent power through different
independent
grids,
network as well.
independent network through different networks, independent
Mm,
cooling system. So in case anything got fail, they will have this running at all time.
I know what you mean.
Well, when I say independent power, it doesn't mean that it is coming from same pool and then it has been single wire and it is given to them. No, it means they are taking it from different power grid itself.
I know what
There
you mean
is
because if you got the same one, it's not really a high availability. If that makes
yeah,
sense, has to be independent always.
yeah, so they are taking it through separate power grid itself, like the
Yeah,
main grid. So they
of
have
course.
separate power lines. So in this
Um,
way,
I have a question. Sorry. So let's just say, okay, because you selected zone two. So what if you select zone three? Would that be three data centers that you use?
so in that case, it will replicate it with 1 and 3.
Zone three would be one and three. Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine. And zone two would be one and two.
yeah.
Okay, okay, that's fine. And zone, is there zone one? There's no zone one in it.
No, if you don't select availability zone, there will be no zone at all.
Yeah, that's fine. Makes sense. So if we select availability zones or whatever the redundancy one, so all the options you have is maybe zone two or zone three. If that, if of course, if a region has
See,
only those
that
zones.
is a logical grouping. Okay, but while selecting, you can also use this zone one, 2, 3 for IP addressing as well. I will tell you why it is required. The reason here is, let's say you launch a machine here, okay,
Yeah,
and you set availability zone as 2,
three or two.
let's say
Yeah,
2 or 3, okay.
yeah.
So what it will do is it will keep reserve a kind of public IP for you
Yeah.
in these two zones only, or whatever zone you mentioned.
Yeah.
But if you want that same IP to be used, even the availability zone got failure, then you have to select one only.
What was that,
Let me
sorry? Yeah, you can explain it.
show you. If you see here, what it say, you can optionally specify a availability zone in which to deploy your VM. If you choose to do so, your managed disk and public IP will be created in the same availability zone as your virtual machine. What does it mean is, let's say you have this data centers. Okay, in this data center you have a virtual machine.
Yeah.
It has an IP address. It has a managed disk. This is called zone 1.
Yeah.
Now you select availability zone. You select that. You enable that particular option, and now they want you to mention availability zone. If you select two, availability zone 2, what it will do, it will basically create a separate IP address and separate managed disk here in
Okay.
availability zone 2.
Okay.
And in case if this got failure, you still have to change the IP address here. Okay, because
Okay.
your public IP get changed,
Okay.
because DNS only map to IP addresses, correct?
Yeah.
So if let's say your this particular data center is down, even your data is available in other zone, will you be able to achieve public IP address
No.
directly without any configuration changes? You still have to
No.
make changes in your DNS, correct?
Yeah.
So this
But
way,
but oh, sorry. So when you actually implement the Azure Availability Zone, let's just say you click Zone 2, um, Azure themselves will provide you a public IP for
public
the other
IP,
zone.
yeah, other
Okay, it
zone.
makes sense. So you have to change yourself.
Yeah. So
Okay.
to avoid that, they generally ask you to use other services such as DNS zones, so that you can, your operating or your VM could be in any availability zone. It will still point out to same DNS. They will ask you to use load balancer. They will ask you to use application gateways, so
Okay.
that your public IP doesn't get changed. So those are advanced topics which will come later on once you have your administrator exam, because these are very fundamental questions, and it required a lot of understanding on how actually thing works.
Yeah.
As of now, your only requirement is to know
Be aware.
about the things, define
Yeah.
those things. They will not ask you that what will be IP addressing scheme changing, what will you do if your zone 1 is down, what will you do if your IP address is not available. These kind of things will not be asked.
Okay.
Okay, just a minute. So now Azure has a global network. As I've showed you, it already have consist of its own, wide area network, its point of presence, its fiber,
Uh,
everything, which is basically used for its communication between its data centers, its replicating, its data transfer, and all those kind of stuffs.
yep.
So combining all those things together, it create a Microsoft Azure.
Okay.
So if you see here, it is called a global infrastructure. Now you will get questions around this global infrastructure, as in how you can basically like what is a called availability zone, what is a region, what is uh, a geographical point, how many data centers are there, how many satellites are being given to Azure, how many they use it, what type of satellite is have. So these kind of details you can basically, because this particular link it's keep on updating, so when you are very near to your exam, then you just go through this, because they will keep upgrading or
Yeah.
updating the things here, because this is a
Yeah.
live show of their interconnectivity.
Yeah.
So it is quite important to be aware of. Show you, I will just paste you that link
I'll
here.
bookmark it anyway.
Meanwhile, like mm, once we complete this lecture, you just make sure you go through this particular website very thoroughly to see
Yeah.
how these are actually connected by zooming them.
Okay.
You go to them, see how they are connected, how their power is being coming. It is also show that is wind power, you know, their solar power. See,
Yeah.
these are recently added. These earlier these were not there. You see here, you can change your things as well. If I just click on all and want to see the geography only, I can see the geographies are here. The Mexico geography. See,
Yeah.
these are the geography it has. We have India, it has UAE, it has Qatar, it has Israel, it has Greece,
Yeah.
Italy. See how many in Europe, correct?
Yeah.
It has Brazil, has Chile, it has Africa, it has Australia, also have China, then Korea, Japan, then Taiwan, Asia Pacific, Malaysia, then Indonesia. So if you see here, everything will be get from here. Let's say if you
That's
don't
fine.
want to see, if you want to see the region, you can see the regions here. If you want to
Yeah.
see the ground station, you can also see the ground station. Where are it located? One is located in the UAE, believe. There are these much of ground stations. So they also have news update, how they have expanded it. So recently expanded there, Switzerland.
Yeah.
So they have expanded in Finland. So their data center is keep on increasing.
That's fine.
Okay, and now moving ahead.
Quick one.
Yeah,
They also do provide a private data centers. For example, for those companies who want to have a local data center which isn't too far away, it's possible from my
no,
knowledge.
no. They will only provide you if you are a very, can say a government organization or a whole government, let's say for India or for
Yes,
US.
you're right. Yeah,
They
yeah,
will
you're right.
give you
I remember it was
separate data
specifically
centers
for
only.
government.
But
Okay,
for
all
a
right.
single organization, they will not provide you. And for even if you want them to build a data center just for your company, that project should be in billions only, because they have to invest billions of dollars of money upfront to deploy the data centers. So if you see here, let me show you Azure US government data centers. They also have data center for Azure for US government as well. You see, they have separate data center here. Everything is separate for them. It has 60 plus region.
Yeah, that's the sort of line of question that I was asking. They
Yeah, they
uh,
do it for governments. I think they also did it for China as well, I believe. Mhm. Mhm. See, they also have a China. See,
yeah, I mean it would make sense because of intellectual property questions, I guess. I mean,
yeah,
especially if it's a government, then they would not want to
they
have.
don't want it, to be
Yeah,
added into this particular global connected network. They want it an isolated network, so they do it on there. Probably, US government have a separate portal address as well. Here we have portal.azure.com. They have separate address.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of security, I mean, from your experience,
Hmm.
that these data centers will, of course, like be like every other server, have
Hmm.
issues and compromises.
Mhm.
Do you think the move from local servers to cloud servers is a better secured move?
Yeah, these days it is better and more secure as compared to on premises, because in on premises you have to make arrangement for all the security. Okay, but in Azure or any security, a cloud service provider, they take care of security very seriously. If you see here, let me show you something. There is something called let me show you something called Azure Security Defense in Depth Model. Yeah, you see here. Yeah, this one. If you see, they have like these level of security, starting from physical till data,
Mm.
and all that security is being handled by Microsoft Azure.
Okay, that's fine.
Physical
Um,
security, their identity of physical security, their parameters, their network, their compute devices, their applications, their data.
okay.
Although security is a shared responsibility, you remember we discussed yesterday.
Mm. Oh
Imagine,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
imagine you host a storage device, okay, and you don't set any controls over it. You
yeah,
simply enable it for whole public, for whole world. And how
yeah.
can you expect Azure to take care of that security? So
Oh yeah, yeah. It has to be. You have to do
you,
your end. They do their end. If that makes
yeah,
sense.
same way you have any firewall, you can't open it for a whole world, nah? Correct? Although
Yeah.
firewall are meant to be secure, but you have to make them secure.
Yeah. Shared responsibility. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay, I was gonna say because I'm about to because I think the 2 hours are up,
yeah.
almost up. So I just wanted to quickly confirm what we covered today. Because yesterday you told me what we covered and I went over it myself in my own time. You know what I mean? So I just want to know what we covered today in general.
So we basically covered these things like region pairs, any
Yeah.
regions, availability zone, data
Yep.
centers,
Yep.
resource groups,
Oh yeah.
management groups, what is the
Yeah.
hierarchy of resource subscription
Oh
and
yeah.
management
Yeah.
groups.
That's all we covered today. So the
Yeah,
whole section of sorry, go up, sorry. So we just covered the describe the core architectural components of Azure. That's what
yeah,
we covered.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, okay, that's fine. I'll go over it again. I'll watch the lecture again
Mhm.
and just do it in my own time. I make some extra notes. Yeah, that's fine. Are we gonna have another class later on today, or you
Yeah,
busy?
we can, work on these more slides like how you can take subscription, what is Active Directory, what are the roles of,
Okay, that's
Microsoft
fine.
Azure. Then we can, start with some Active Directory concepts as well. What is
Okay,
Active
that's fine.
Directory? And then uh, I would also like you to, do a small exercise related
On
to Active Directory if you have
okay, that's
time.
fine. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Just send me the link for this recording if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah. Let me just stop it and send it to you.